A lot to catch up on after a busy weekend. We really haven't even touched on Caleb and the Madden cover and the event that happened Thursday night. There are definitely some questions lingering from what happened Friday with the stadium. And we have a terrible loss in somebody in this town that meant a lot to Chicago that we need to remember. It's all happening right now on CHGO Bears. From the amazing Xfinity Loft in the West Loop of the greatest city in the world, and it was popping over the weekend. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast. A lot to discuss with you after just a ton of things going on over the weekend. Some good, unfortunately, a decent amount bad too, and we are here to talk about it all. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman with you. Hello, Carm.
Hello, Adam. Good to see you. I've got a special end of the show today. I had a dream last night that I can't wait to share that I haven't told you about. So stick around for that in addition to everything else we're doing today.
Really weird way to start the show.
I'm on brand.
On brand.
Right out of the gates.
Can't wait to hear about a weird dream you had.
It was incredible. I mean, I was at a kids soccer tournament all weekend, and
that's not making it better.
No. That wasn't the weird dream. Don't worry, it's not that creepy. But let's get into our guy Stacey King to start the show.
Yeah, Stephen Nicholas producing as always. You know, we knew coming down today. I knew we had some lingering stadium stuff we got to discuss. I had a chance to be at the EA Sports Madden reveal on Thursday night. We're gonna bring that conversation with Caleb Williams to you on the show as well, and we were going to set aside some time to discuss Stacey King, who sadly passed away yesterday. And then I was like, I know this is a Bears show, but we got to start the show with Stacey King. We just do. And the iceberg's on top of it from the start here. He's gifting 20 CHGO Sports memberships in honor of Stacey King to a bunch of our now YouTube members and listeners. So if you're here at the start of the show, thanks to the Iceberg, who also adds a $5 super chat. I know this is not CHGO Bulls, but I missed the weekend emergency pod. Stacey King is and was joy personified. He had happiness in his heart. R.I.P. Stacey. And yes, the Bulls guys did do an emergency pod yesterday on the sad news, and I highly encourage everybody to go back and
fantastic show.
Yeah, watch and listen to it. It was a good remembrance of a great broadcaster, a great dude, a champion as a player, and just sad. I mean, to me, Stacey King was just one of these guys that my immediate reaction was two things, just a massive loss for Chicago. Mm-hmm. Because even if you weren't necessarily a huge Bulls fan, you knew who Stacey King was. You'd come across a game and he would entertain you, and we'll get into some of the mechanics and maybe deeper conversations about being a broadcaster and an analyst, but he was really good at it, about being entertaining but also being informative and being critical at times. And I was trying to think, the first thing to me that he'll always remember for is the Derrick Rose era.
Right.
A lot of Derrick Rose highlights came with an awesome Stacey King reaction. And those will live on forever. What are you doing, Dragic?
Yeah.
So many of those types of moments. I want to go higher. All of that stuff. And then, two, since Derrick Rose left the Bulls, I was thinking about this last night. There's not a whole lot of things to cling on to in terms of great players, great moments, great coaches.
he was almost so positive that it became like, what are you going to say now, Stacey? These guys suck. Come on, rip them. Like, you know.
But I guess my point is like we usually associate eras of play or teams with a player or a coach. The Bulls haven't had that going for them for really a decade now.
Right.
And so for me, that person is Stacey King, the broadcaster. Because it didn't matter if I was tuning in when Fred Hoiberg was the coach or Jim Boylan. Like there wasn't a lot of reasons to tune in for the product on the court. But I knew that it was be entertaining to listen to Stacey King, and I also really want to shout out Adam Amin too, because I think he's done a phenomenal job since he's joined that team, and I can't imagine how he's feeling right now, losing his broadcast partner. So thoughts go out to Adam and everybody associated with the Bulls and that broadcast, everyone that worked with Stacey King, and of course his family and friends. But this is a tough one. He's gonna be really hard to replace because he was so unique, Carm.
Yeah, you're not going to replace that. I mean, there's certain guys that move along that you'll never replace. I mean, Harry Carey's never going to be replaced for the Cubs. Hawk Harrelson's never going to be replaced for the White Sox. Pat Foley is not going to be replaced for the Blackhawks. For me, Jim Durham will never be replaced for the Bulls as well. Stacey, he had some huge shoes to fill in stepping in for Red Kerr. I mean, Johnny Red Kerr was beloved and a huge cheerleader. The Kerr's call on Jordan's shot in '89 was "We win it!" Like who, because he was a Bull himself, and Stacey had plenty of that. But the way that every single person who worked with him spoke about him. I mean, from Adam to Tom Dorr back in the day, Casey Johnson talks about, I was listening to his hit today, how he's coming over from the Tribune and now he's a TV guy and the way Stacey welcomed him. And last night I was listening to the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast, and he's got my guy Craig Hodges on there, and it's just they're telling stories. So for me, like the loss of the whole thing, like growing up, I was an enormous Bulls fan, like pre-MJ. My first sports memory was going to Bulls Atlanta Hawks in like 1981. They lost 112-107. We sat in the first balcony, like on the bend. Like I remember all this stuff. And so like having somebody that's tied to that era doing the games, who can tell stories about it, who could tell MJ stories or whoever, Scotty, anyone. I don't know who they'll, if they'll do the same playbook, and, Will Purdue's, I would assume, is a candidate, and Kendall Gill might be a candidate, guys that have done it. But I don't, but they could go completely different. It could be somebody, and then you sort of lose the connection to that era, which, was obviously the greatest era that Bulls basketball will ever see. So there's a million reasons to miss him, but his connection with Derek, and, I left the Bulls after '98. I was so incredibly upset with that the dynasty ended and the way it ended, and it took me I couldn't do it. I rooted for Jordan with the Wizards. I wanted them to beat the Bulls, and then Derek, and I liked the Ben Gordon Bulls before that, but Derek really brought the United Center back, and Stacey was a huge part of that. Like he really was the voice of that era. So like the Bulls were in essence to be dead, and then that era brought them back, and they went dead again. But Stacey was the voice of it.
Well, we're going to probably circle back to a little bit more conversation on Stacey King at the end of the show, but it did not feel right to start the show today without discussing it off the top, because this is just one of those stories and losses that, is really Chicago to me and transcends necessarily which sport he covered or what show this show covers.
It's cool to see how much he resonated, honestly.
Why wouldn't he resonate? He was fun. He was entertaining. He had the catchphrases. He was also really good at being an analyst. Like he knew basketball inside and out, could explain it to you, and saw things that you wouldn't just see as a casual observer. And I always appreciate when the hometown announcers are also willing to. That guy played bad defense. That was bad defense. We don't have to be afraid of saying that. That was a terrible shot. That was a terrible shot. Say it. And he always did. He never shied away from that.
It's an amazing transformation from his playing days, which we can do later in the show. But I like to see him go to I hope his Bulls fans, his family or whatever are feeling how much he was beloved today. It's the rest of the way here, because it's really beautiful the way he's been appreciated here and everywhere.
Craigulator coming in with a $100 super chat in remembering Stacey King, saying, "You to GOAT Iceberg for gifting those memberships. RIP Bulls legend Stacey King." Thank you, Craigulator. We'll circle around back to some of that conversation later on in the show. We do want to get to some Bears stuff in here, and I guess it was a interesting weekend because, if you're just going to go off of maybe you're a Bears fan that is Carman was distraught Friday with the Indiana developments.
Is that how it came across? I was distraught. It's probably accurate.
That's okay. It reflected a lot of opinion.
I did feel sick.
So to go in the weekend with that news and then come out of it with obviously even worse news, it's one thing to lose a sports team. It's another to lose a great human being that meant a lot to this city. It was just not the greatest of weekends, I would say. But, I guess that's my awkward transition to talk a little bit more about what did transpire Friday and just some of the lingering questions I have. But in the middle of all that, part of what I wanted to bring up is Saturday, I happened to be at Soldier Field. U.S. men's national team had their send-off game. They were playing Germany. Seemed like most of the people that know soccer way better than I do seem to be pretty happy with the performance. Yeah. Thank you to our guy, Mike Allardyce, for the tickets, and thank you for not going.
No problem. Thank you, Dice, for giving me two. And then I was going to give them to the great Grace Carman. I was going to take my niece, but then she couldn't go, and then I had a soccer tournament myself up for the great Beckett Bernfeld up in Wisconsin. So all the options were out, and then they fell to you, Hoge.
Well, it was just weird timing because here we are Friday doing an emergency show on the Bears potentially leaving for Indiana. Saturday, I end up in the 400 level of Soldier Field, which, look, I'll be the first to raise my hand sometimes and say that sometimes we can be out of touch with the hardcore fans because I don't think I've sat in the 400 level at Soldier Field for a sporting event. I've been up there for a concert or two over the years. But for a sporting event, since I have this memory of the Bears playing the Lions back in I don't know, it must have been the second or third year after they renovated the stadium.
For the record, I crushed the 400 level corner as a vendor. I was absolutely dynamic. I owned it.
I'm sure you did. I only had to go up to the 13th row. How high up does it go?
High, and it was horrible. But I was a beast and a half, and I'd like an award from the Bears for how good I sold beer for them. Go ahead.
Well, there was one vendor who had a beer can on his hat, and I was picturing you wearing that hat.
That would no. But I'll say the soccer matches there, they sold well, and it was.
Well, so that's really why I want to get into why this is relevant to the Bears, because I haven't sat up there in a long time. I haven't really been to a sporting event that I wasn't in the press box for in a long time there. Concerts, yes, but it was a great time.
Of course.
First of all, getting in the stadium was not that bad. I guess if you mentally prepare yourself. Now, we didn't drive. I took the train in. We ended up walking all the way from Union Station with two kids. So
amazing how that happened, that you could actually get there. Keep going.
Well, okay. I think most parents who just heard me say that would probably be horrified by the fact that we walked over 2 miles with a 5-year-old.
But we
made it.
Right. You could have taken a bus. You could have done different.
Also, it was a beautiful day in Chicago, not
right
10 degrees out in January. So I just want to provide the full context.
My point is, I'm just saying walking is an option. Keep going.
Right. We got in the stadium just fine. The security lines weren't bad. I kind of have forgotten how cool it is to actually stand up in those columns up there.
Good picture by you guys.
Took a great photo. And then, the sight lines, that's the one thing about Soldier Field. Now, I will say for soccer, we couldn't see the lower corner. If there were any corner kicks right below us, we couldn't see it. But probably not an issue for football games. The field's way bigger for soccer. Getting a beer was super easy. The bathroom situation was horrible. not nearly enough bathrooms for the amount of people that are up there.
Don't go to the bathroom. Underrated.
Just don't go.
Overrated.
Just don't go. You never have to run to the bathroom.
I mean, you got to time it out, man. You can't go at halftime. You got to pick your spots.
Yeah. I will say, getting out of the stadium was not great.
Got to pick that spot too.
Yeah, but look, it was a sellout crowd. It was an awesome atmosphere. They did a good job of setting it up with red and white flags, T-shirts. They had the crowd decked out. And one section's red, one section's Jim Corneliuson did the anthem. The flyover, 2 B-52s, they were about a minute and a half late. But other than that, it was very awkward.
It's okay. It's all right.
Flyover, but it was cool once it finally got there. The point being, like, you're just standing there, beautiful day in Chicago. The entire time I'm just like, you're going to leave this for Hammond? This can't be real life. It can't be real. Now, and I say that having covered and explained this a million times and all the reasons, the political reasons, the monetary reasons, financial reasons. Like, I get it all. But also at the end of the day, and no matter where I went this weekend, and I'm sure people watching the show had the same experience, this is what everybody was asking about. Are they really leaving for Indiana? Is this really in the crowd of soccer fans? Everybody was talking about the stadium and the history of the stadium and this and that, and are the Bears really leaving? It was just really surreal. And, I walked out of there being like, even though the lines were terrible for their bathroom, and I think the South Loop needs to work on perhaps some things too in some of those establishments of handling crowds. But other than that,
not Flo and Santos, love that place.
Like, you can't be leaving. You cannot be leaving the best spot for a stadium for Hammond. It can't be real life, Carm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically been my take the whole way. Like, Chicago. You don't want to leave the lakefront for the suburbs, and I say that as somebody who I'm learning to enjoy the suburbs where, I live now, but I greatly prefer being in the city, and you certainly don't want to leave for Hammond. And that's not even a shot at the suburbs or Hammond. It's just like, dude, come on. You're in, like, this is where you belong. But, I guess that it seems like the chip is sailed, although maybe it'll come back to Doc. Who knows? It's interesting, like, as far as your weekend goes. Friday night, I got in a texting argument with our friend Danny Parkins, and he was like basically telling me, he's like he hates the story. He's not interested, doesn't care where they play. And he's like, and he
sounds like he needs to have a conversation with Steven.
Right.
Well, him and I would get along great.
Well,
past it.
So he's like, do you like the story? And I was trying to say whatever, trying to make a point. It's like, that's not answering my question. I'm like, my favorite part of the story is me advocating for Chicago based on nothing. That's my favorite part of the story, that I will continue to bang the drum that they belong in Chicago, and that I'll have everybody yelling at me, it's not going to happen. I understand it's most likely not going to happen, but it should happen. I've laid out how it could happen. I understand that.
Can I quibble with something real quick, though?
Yeah.
You're not actually doing it on nothing.
Well, based on very little.
But what I'm saying, but what you're advocating for is taking out all these real life, like, sort of reality complications, but still remaining after all that is common effing sense.
Right.
That's what you're advocating on.
Right.
How are you going to leave this awesome spot
right.
for Hammond or let's not even make it, I don't want it to sound like we're insulting Hammond. Even Arlington Heights.
Correct.
It's not the same.
Which is where, like, everyone's screaming at Kevin Warren, and I get it. Like, obviously, he could have done a lot better bringing people together around this to get whatever the Bears wanted. That didn't happen, and I get the political side of it. No one's perfect in getting to the point that we're at right now. But his original contention coming in there, why are we leaving here? This piece of land is insane. This is you. For the rest of time, this is going to be an incredible place, which, listen, again, we have all these people who come to our tailgates who are coming into the city, staying in the city, and every week it's like, so what'd you think of your stay here? Oh, it's great. I can't believe anybody says anything bad about Chicago. Because when you actually experience it, if you're coming from wherever, you end up having a great time because the city's awesome.
All right. Well, that's sort of a more nostalgic look at everything. Unfortunately, there are real life issues and all. Let's take a time out here. There's 4 questions I have that I just wanted to bring up. Like pretty basic questions that we don't have answers to that I think are somewhat getting looked over as we get this statement from the Bears and this open letter from the Bears and this statement from the politicians, and we're doing this, but we're not actually doing this, and the shovels are never actually going in the ground. And it's sort of this endless loop of pivoting the timeline when really all we're doing is, I should say, moving the goalposts and extending deadline after deadline after deadline. I have 4 simple questions that I think are really relevant that I kept thinking about after we covered what we covered on Friday's show, which, by the way, if you missed that show, I do highly recommend. If you want a more like deeper conversation about what all this means, Indiana versus Chicago, Arlington Heights, go back and listen to the Friday show if you didn't get a chance to listen to it. But I'm going to bring up these questions when we come back. But first,
hey, shout out to our friends at Sunnyside Dispensary, here to elevate your baseball season, which could use, we need some elevating right now. Sunnyside, your home for judgment-free shopping. And, of course, you know the crazy selection with 100 different strains to choose from. Every order that you do online or in the store, they're going to hook you up. And we've got a new little part of Sunnyside. It's Tea Time Vapes. That's right. Tea Time, you golfers out there. It's a lemonade flavor, so it should go well with an Arnold Palmer on the golf course all spring long. By the way, we got our golf outing coming up here. Come on out. And there's a Stash Bash this summer, which is live through Labor Day. It's the Stash Bash is Sunnyside's summer rewards program. Lets you earn rewards simply by visiting and making qualifying purchases. Every time you visit, you earn a stamp. Brings you closer to your next reward. Get involved. Sunnyside Dispensary. Go to their website right now. Only the best under the sun. 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Use that promo code HICHGO, HICHGO at checkout to qualify.
And bring your friends, fans, and frenemies together, one Casa Amigos Marg at a time. No matter who you're supporting, say cheers with a Casa Amigos Margarita. Pair your World Cup watch party food with a delicious new, ready-to-enjoy Casa Amigos Margarita. We got the Casa Amigos right here in front of us on the set. It's made with the best simple ingredients: Blanco, tequila, lime juice, and natural flavors. Sure to rival any of your favorite hangout spots. Uncork, pour over ice, and garnish with lime. And just 110 calories per serving. Be on the lookout for our watch parties coming up starting Friday night.
What's up?
Cannot wait. And then I'm going to be at Bub City next Friday for that game.
Going to Chappelle afterwards? It's going to be amazing.
I'm not. I'm going to Morgan Wallen afterwards, though, same day. Whether you're at your favorite spot or stocking up for home, make it Casa Amigos. Visit allchgo.com/events to RSVP for any or all of the U.S. men's national team watch parties. All right, so here are the questions. So the Bears put out this stadium Friday, and right off the bat, they go, we're focused on Indiana, moving the project forward in Indiana with the site to be determined.
TBD.
Why did they suddenly not have the site determined?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, and this all happened in different order, but they all happened right here on CHGO over the last few months. Not elsewhere, right here on CHGO. The mayor of Hammond, Thomas McDermott,
my guy,
confirmed to us that Lost Marsh, the golf course, was the site.
And he believes very firmly that you can build on it. Go ahead.
And he believes, and he said, because I know the land, it's part of my city. I've known this land forever, and I know that it's safe enough to build on. Okay? So that's one side of it. The other side would be the Bears, right? So I asked Kevin Warren in an interview in Arizona about the site, which at that point we didn't know what the specific site was, but I said, do you know, whatever the site is, have you gotten the environmental studies back? Do you know you can build on it? And he said, yes, we have. We know we can build on it.
Okay.
So why do we all of a sudden not have the site? This has been part of the problem on the Bears side. Everybody wants to play the blame game. I'm going to maintain there's plenty of blame to be going around. But part of the blame game on the Bears side is their communications on this stuff has been messy at best. It's been open letters. It's been statements. It's perhaps even lying in some of these interviews. If that wasn't true at the time, I don't know. But all of a sudden, we don't have a site. Now, I have a theory.
What's the theory?
My theory is this still is the site. But they had to leave something open-ended. Because otherwise it would be, well, why don't you just start building? We're committed to building here. We have the legislation. We have the site. Then why are you not building? And the point is that they don't want this to be done yet because this is not their first choice, at minimum. Whether they end up building a stadium in Hammond, Indiana, we will always know that this was clearly not where they ultimately wanted to build.
Right. Well, and they're kind of splitting the baby, if you will, by we know that it's at Wolf Lake, but we don't exactly know where on the golf course, wherever they're going to build exactly, right? That's sort of how they're doing this. I don't know. You know what's interesting to me about what you're talking about too is they don't know the site, and at the same time, you have our guy Cam Buckner and Bill Cunningham all putting out to the media that they've spoken with Kevin Warren, and he's telling them that we're doing this, but yet we're still talking to you too.
Yes.
So that's very bizarre to me.
Well, that is in my opinion, a terrible misstep by Kevin Warren.
You're taking away your leverage.
They have not played the political games well at all. But yes, to put out a statement, this is what our board voted, this is where our focus is, and oh, by the way, two of the politicians come out right away and like, oh, I just talked to Kevin a few minutes ago, and he said that he can't wait to keep talking to us. Right. So what? So it's just we now. But here's the other thing. Now, it's also in their interest to make it clear that they're not out. So don't forget that side of it too. And I will say, I forget which statement it was. It might have been Cam. I think it was a couple of them, said that this isn't really all that different than what they put out in February. That's not necessarily wrong, but the one big difference is that the board has actually voted to move forward with this. They now have board approval to move forward in Indiana.
Right.
Now, they can also vote at any given time to change their minds again, but it's not like it's going to sit there and the board is all of a sudden going to be like, no, we're not going to Indiana. What are you talking about, Kevin? We're not doing this. No, they voted to move ahead. So that is one big difference. That does matter. Second question. This might be the most important question. Do the Bears actually have the money?
You tell me your take on this. Explain it as best you can to everybody like they're five, really. Because obviously, in theory, they have the money.
Well, and we got into this last week, you and me. Like, they're worth $10 billion.
11.
Oh, sure. And that keeps, you know what? And that keeps rising perhaps even faster than the construction costs, if we're being completely honest. The value of the franchise. Very little of that is liquid. And they do not have, we know, because George said on the record, that they have to get the loans to be able to fund their portion of the stadium, which has been basically thrown out depending on somewhere around $2 billion, depending on which location we're talking about. It's been slightly different. It was a little bit more in Chicago. It was a little bit less in Indiana, but it's mostly around $2 billion we're talking about. And this was one of the reasons, guys, why they needed tax certainty in Arlington Heights, to be able to get the loans. Because the banks still have to be willing to loan you a crap ton of money. $2 billion. And George even admitted that they don't do this.
For the record, I would like to open up my own bank, and I'll be happy to lend the money to the Bears. I believe they'll be able to pay, but I probably don't have the leverage to do that quite yet in my career because I've got $7 in my wallet. But keep going.
But this leads to a question 2B. If that was 2A, do they have the money? What is the true cost right now? Because the estimations have never changed, but everyone keeps talking about how the costs are rising. What is this actually going to cost the Bears and actually cost the taxpayers? Because if I'm living in Indiana right now, I am very worried about how much money this is going to end up costing this stadium authority that is created.
Right. And sort of the optics of we are building a stadium in essence for Chicago. The people are just going to come over here, pop in 10 times a year, and that'll be that. And we're paying the taxes. And the Bears are going to own the stadium also, by the way, in 30 or 40 years, whatever it is. When you get into all those numbers, though, Hoge, I don't think most people just get, it's hard to. The real number is, what is this going to be for me? If my taxes, if I own a home in Crown Point like Greg Bragg's, and I'm paying, and my taxes are, I have no idea what Greg Bragg's taxes are, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that they're $3,000 a year right now. And that the likelihood of having the stadium, my taxes are going to go from $3,000 a year to $6,000 a year in the next 10 years. Like, that's what I would. If he really broke down the numbers, then people could have a real vote on this. Hey, man, your taxes are going to double, but you'll have the Bears here, and your property value is going to go from, if you have a $200,000 home, it's most likely going to be worth,
which also rises your property taxes.
It's going to be worth $350 or whatever. Are you willing to make that investment, so to speak, in having this team there so your property value goes up, your taxes go up, you'll get paid off in the end, but you're going to have to budget more money a year to pay for this?
Steven, can you scroll up and show Bo Chanton's comment?
Most people are going to say no to that, by the way.
Because this is another question. If they don't have the money, wouldn't the Hammond option be the only option for them? I don't know if that makes it the only option, Bo Chanton, but this is a great question. Ding, ding, ding. This is part of the reason why they are taking it so seriously.
Right.
Because it is it is the easiest way financially to make this all work. But if this thing ends up costing, and I think it will, I'm trying to just I think any common sense thinking on this is, how are you really going to build this thing with only $2 billion of your own dollars going into it, Chicago Bears? Either the taxpayers are going to end up covering the rest, or what shortcuts are going to be taken? Which leads me to my next question. Question number 3. Where are the renderings? And I've been shouting this into a seemingly space for months now.
We call it Hoge rendering space.
I want to know what the stadium looks like. I think this might matter more than where it's actually located. Because if they put a crap stadium, whether it's downtown Chicago or in the middle of Indiana, it's still going to be a crap stadium. And they keep promising this world-class stadium. And they keep telling you that the stadium has been designed, and they have the same architects that designed the Vegas stadium and other stadiums. And I'm just trying to figure out why in this entire mess, and that's what this has been, a mess. Why would they not be shoving these renderings of this awesome, amazing stadium in our faces? And if not just us as people talking about it, how about the cities, the municipalities that should be fighting to get this amazing stadium? What does it look like?
Well, it is interesting from a Hammond's perspective here, because listen, when the Arlington Heights thing came out, we were all sitting there, and there were the renderings, there were the paddle boats, and there was me and Braggs hanging out.
But those weren't real renderings.
Well, of course they
were renderings of the area. In fact, if I remember right, the original Arlington Heights renderings at that town hall had like, this is where the stadium goes. Right. It wasn't even a stadium. Right. It was, this is where the stadium will be.
So then you had the real renderings for the Chicago Stadium for a second there. We saw the train thing. We saw the build up, like the idea of what it could be. We haven't seen anything of that in Hammond.
Well,
which is where they're going right now.
I remember watching Hard Knocks, and there was a scene where they were designing the inside of the stadium that I was also told by good sources was filmed multiple times.
Right.
How real that was, I have no idea. But that's my point. Why are they not? What are they hiding? Is it because they don't know what the thing's really going to cost?
I can't answer
because
the question.
the only logical explanation is they don't. It is because ultimately this all comes down to money, and then, I guess this is a question that I know a lot of the people that are out there clamoring for Kevin Warren to be fired right now brings up a legitimate question. As messy as this has all been, other than the hiring of Ben Johnson and the trickle down of good things on the football side that have followed in the last basically year and a half since that has happened, what has really changed with the Bears organization?
Well, that's a fair point, but Ben Johnson is the best change in the Bears organization, arguably, at least from a head coach's standpoint, since they hired Ditka in '82. I mean, Lovey was. I'll give Lovey some love here, but not to this level. So, I mean, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I could also argue that the process that led to Ben Johnson was flawed,
Which is
because they should have fired the previous head coach the year before. Now, Steven, in our pre-show meeting, brought up a great point. One thing that is different is that they actually fired the coach mid-season for the first time in the franchise's history. That probably does not happen without Kevin Warren being here. I 100% give you that. But I would also say he should have been fired 9 months before that. It was insane to go into that season when you knew you were drafting a new quarterback.
Both those points are fair. But to Steven's part of it, when it happened, Kevin put himself in front. Ryan Poles had to sit there, and it was like the most distraught we've ever seen Poles in any press conference. It was like father had scolded child, and just sit here while I handle this and talk about how great of a job this is and how we're going to move forward. Like, he really grabbed the reins for a second there and, did his positive everything's going to work out act, which is, he does this all the time. Kevin always says, I've never had a bad day. So even in the midst of all that's going on right now, I would assume he's, at least outwardly, he's keeping a very positive, he's front-facing. I think he's trying to project positivity of where the Bears are going, even though we haven't heard from him.
And by the way, I know a lot of other things that are different. We are all around that building. There are, it's a running joke, I can tell you, even across the NFL right now, about how many vice presidents they have.
What about the media food, Hoge? They got better media food.
At the stadium, you mean?
Yeah.
At Soldier Field?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There's one, two.
I'm talking less about specifics and more about big picture, because I still don't see a stadium, and I still really where I'm going with this is it's not even about Kevin Warren. The same chairman is in charge. And I think that actually I'm going to give George credit for something for this. I think George McCaskey very purposely sometimes does this. I'm a fan. I'm hiring these people to do this thing. You're still the one in charge. You're still on the board. You lead the board. And your name is still at the top of that statement that came out Friday before Kevin Warren's. And it's just sort of like the mess has moved from the football world to the stadium world. And if it really ends up in Hammond, going back to what I said in the last segment, when I'm sitting there in the 400 level of Soldier Field Saturday, looking at this amazing scene on the lakefront and what the Bears could potentially be leaving, it's just still sort of hard to believe that we're here. And yeah, that's where I'm coming from with that question. What is really different that Ben Johnson is not in control of?
Which is an absolute fair point. And it's a great hire. It's a major changer. You have a guy who sees himself ending up in the Hall of Fame as your head coach, leading with your young quarterback, and the excitement of last year was something we haven't seen. They hadn't won a playoff game since 2011. They won one last year. That's all. That's a lot of difference right there. The part about it though, that's if I'm George right now that I'm annoyed with, it's like, look, man, we get it. We've gotten a lot of flack the last decade here. We had 2018 was sweet. 12-4, club dub, all of it. There was some great energy around the team. But other than that, we've been sort of trying to dig out of a negative publicity hole. And we're finally there. We got a quarterback who emerged last year. We got a head coach. We've got a direction, all these things. And yet right now the organization is kind of being dragged through the mud with the lack of stadium direction, if you will. Part of me also thinks like the messaging here could have just been, if they had just played it like, look, we got a lease at Soldier Field till 2033, and we know it's not perfect, but we love playing on the lakefront, so we have time to get this right. And we're just going to take our time and make sure wherever we end up that, we're not worried about prices going up, prices going down, whatever it is. We just want to make sure that we build a world-class stadium for our fans, and we're going to do our due diligence thoroughly to make sure that wherever we go, that's going to be the case. That would have taken a lot of the sort of the angst off of it, but instead it's been like, prices are going up, we got to make a decision. No. Shovels in the ground. If you
well, it starts with buying the land,
right?
Which you never should have done.
Correct. Which they did that because at the time they were in a huge fight with Chicago and Lori Lightfoot and whatever else. Like, all right. And then Arlington Heights came to them, here's this land, we want you to buy it. And they just did.
Well, and you can argue it was an emotional decision.
That's what I'm saying. It was an emotional decision that wasn't really thought out, and they had no guarantees. And, listen, when you make emotional decisions in life that don't work out, digging a greater grave is not the play. Sometimes you got to cut your loss. I'm not saying that Arlington Heights necessarily has to be a loss for them. But to your point where you were going with question 2, where's the money? They could build on it. They can't. Well, if they had the dough, they could.
Right, but they don't. Right. That's my point.
Right, but if
they don't.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like they could build on it if they found the dough, but they don't want to sell off any part of the team.
I mean, they could bring in equipment today and move some dirt around. They wouldn't get very far because they can't afford to.
Right, I understand. But, if they wanted to sell, they could, but apparently they don't because that would change. They don't want to give any more of a percentage of the team because Pat Ryan's got the right of anything they sell at this point. So they don't want to give more up, which I get, but that puts them in a predicament. That's why they shouldn't have bought that land.
Well, look, we can move off this. I know we actually are going to bring you some Caleb Williams here.
All right. Yes. Steven is happy, and actually so am I.
Yeah, I am too, to be honest. I am too. But
by the way, the next 3 days are all OTAs. You won't hear.
Right, that's what this is. I can't promise you because who knows if there's going to be emergency news.
You used the word promise earlier in our meeting. You did.
I might have promised Steven.
Yeah.
But we got Bears minicamp the next 3 days. We're going to practice recap shows. That's going to be the rest of the week. So after the weekend and some of the lingering questions that I had and being at Soldier Field, this was fine. This was my opportunity. I am leading the show, so I'm going to yes, this was my opportunity to talk about the stadium for the week. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, you're going to hear from the quarterback, Caleb Williams. And I was at that Madden event on Thursday night. Haven't had a chance to talk about that yet either, and I want to explain some things that are going on with the game. So that's all coming up. Hit the like button. Hopefully you're still happy to be here, and we'll do all that coming up next. But first,
hey, shout out to our friends at Xfinity and the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have an MVP quarterback for the next 5 years and or reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? Maybe you could have both. Shout out to Hoge and his Caleb Williams, Michael Jordan efforts this weekend or last weekend. What if you keep it, by the way, the same price for 5 years? That is the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Everything in your home working perfectly. Doesn't matter how many devices are going on. That's right. That's going to happen for the whole 5 years. Also, best part, no annual contracts, no hidden fees, and you get Xfinity's best equipment. That, of course, is included. Xfinity, why would you think about anything else? Lock in your price. Unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions do apply. Greg Braggs uses Xfinity too.
And whether your AC stopped working or you're dealing with a clogged drain, maybe you need an extra outlet installed, any of those things, Four Seasons is going to have you covered. They're available 24/7 for emergency service with no extra charges on nights, weekends, or holidays. They got over 30,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ rating for the BBB, so you can count on trusted service every time that summer heat is here. Do not wait for your AC to break down. Call Four Seasons now. They're going to give you the AC tune-up for just $89.95. That's backed by a 1-year, no-breakdown guarantee. That'll give you that peace of mind you need. This limited-time offer will not last, so schedule your tune-up today. And if you're thinking about upgrading, they can get up to $4,000 in rebates right now. Plus, they'll beat any competitor's offer by up to $1,000 guaranteed. For all your cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs, you know who to call for all the right reasons. Call 866-4 Seasons, your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumber, sewer, and electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That is fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. So the latest fun and exciting and very uplifting and positive football thing that the Bears have going on that was destroyed by Friday's stadium news. It's so funny how that keeps happening. But Thursday was the official Madden reveal, which, once again, I think it bears repeating. The Chicago Bears have a quarterback on the cover of Madden. Whether you play video games or don't play video games, that is an incredible honor and a huge reality check at where they actually are on the football field in a space that we have never witnessed in the history of this franchise.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, Mike Glennon, they did not make the cover of Madden.
Mitch was the Nickelodeon MVP, though, that one time.
I forgot about that. That
was a big honor.
Just like I'm about to forget about Greg Braggs for the rest of my life.
Okay. So Thursday night, they had this big event over at Navy Pier where they revealed not only Madden, but also the new college football game, College Football 27. Got to see my guy Bucky over there. I do want to actually throw this out there. Your guy Herky, the Hawkeye, had a little bit of a spill.
Oh, no.
There was some water on the ground.
I guess it's just a Hawkeye thing, then.
Yeah, and he couldn't keep his footing, and he had a big stain on his football pants.
You know, I nearly tried out to be Herky, but then
You would have been a great Herky, the Hawkeye.
I wanted to be Herky, but I don't think I ever, shockingly figured out exactly when the tryouts were or how to do it. But I'm like, but there was 12 Herkies. I'm like, I could have
the tryouts.
I could have been a good Herky.
Yeah.
Don't you think that'd be fun as a college kid to be the mascot and walk around just be an idiot?
Bucky actually got in a little bit of trouble.
Oh,
he was screwing around a little bit too much during the presentation. Some guy came over and told the handler, being like, you got to get your mascot under control. He's bothering people.
I mean, for your friends to know that you're the mascot, that's
not supposed to know.
Well, I would have told everybody.
Well, that's why you wouldn't have been Herky.
That would, yeah, well.
Anyway, I
still want that gig.
We got a chance to watch Caleb. He was doing a series of interviews on the upper balcony in the ballroom there at Navy Pier. Really cool space if anyone's ever been over there. And they showed this video, which I want to talk about, this Vince Vaughn short film that they put together, which was incredible on its own. And Caleb had a lot to say on this thing, so he actually stops these interviews to watch when they put it up in the presentation. And I got a couple photos of it that I put out on social, just like him watching it and taking it in. And it was really cool to actually be there. And then basically right when that ended, we got a chance to talk to him for about 5 minutes, small group of media. Appreciate EA Sports for including CHGO in the invitations and being able to be there and ask Caleb some questions. So if you didn't get a chance to take this in on Thursday on our YouTube channel, because everything turned in the stadium conversation very quickly on Friday, here is that conversation. It's about 5 minutes with Caleb Williams at the Madden reveal.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, you're on the cover of Madden.
Yeah, man, it's childhood dream. It's really cool. It's to be able to be on such a historic game and have such a historic moment, but also do it for the first time with such a historic organization and program that I'm with. So I'm really excited, really grateful, and hopefully can be on this cover at some point again.
We just got a chance to see you watch some of the video. What was that like watching all that unfold?
Yeah, a bunch of hours that came together to turn out to a short film. I asked him, I said, is this normally how y'all roll out the Madden? And he said no. And so I'm really grateful to be a part of it, super excited, and can't wait for the world to see it.
You said before you were drafted that you tend to create history and you like to rewrite history.
Yep.
How does that fit into this as being?
Yeah, it fits in perfectly. It's a part of it. It's another stepping stone for me. It's another thing to tell me to keep going and keep striving for these goals that a lot of people say I won't be able to do. A lot of people frown upon me or this and that, and all that doesn't matter. Only matters is the guys in the locker room, coaches, and then my family, my support system supporting me.
Who do you play Madden with, and do you play as yourself?
Yeah, myself. Now that I'm in the league. Before I was in the league, it was all different teams. Whoever had the best players, because you obviously wanted the best shot to win. And so at this point now, it's myself.
Caleb, with the Jordan-inspired cover,
yep.
How did you provide that input? And do you feel like you had to balance a line of, that's a little bold, obviously, to go after one of the most iconic guys to play here?
That's the position I want to be in, but I also wanted to pay respect to MJ. That was more of what it was. It was more of a respect thing, bringing retro back, not letting people forget that, and doing it on my side of the world of football. And so paying respect to that and him and what he was able to do in Chicago, and just honestly wanted to bring that energy, that vibe back. And I think we're on a track to do that, and we got to keep winning games.
That was your idea?
Yeah, the skyline part of it was my idea. They wanted the jump thing just because they saw it in games and stuff, but the skyline thing, just to, like I said, pay respect to MJ and what he was able to do here in Chicago, and all I've heard about, obviously, it since I've been here, and so want to get that energy going, like I said.
Caleb, as fun as all of this is, how do you compartmentalize that and know that you need to keep working to get where you need to be?
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a small stepping stone. It's just another thing that I set out these big goals, I set out these dreams, and it's another small stepping stone to tell me to keep going, that I'm going in the right direction, and things like that, that I'm in the position I want to be in, and I got the people around me from coach to teammates, and like I said, my support system to also to remind me to keep going, just because this wasn't the end all be all goal for me. Just like I said, a small stepping stone, and I got some big goals that I want to go get.
What do you think of when the Rams made the trade they made the other day?
Just another guy, another she-wolf in the NFC. So we'll hopefully see him at the end of the year since he's not on the schedule. Hopefully not, but if we do, it means we're in the playoffs and we're rolling. And so super excited and good for them.
Do you wish the Bears would have signed a pass rusher at this point?
It's not my, as you know, it's not my my realm. We got obviously Montez Sweat, and we drafted a guy, and so drafted a guy with Book, and so we're expecting big things from them, and then we obviously last year got a couple guys that are wanting to be in a position to step up and make plays for us, and so that's what we're waiting on. That's what we're wishing for.
Have you had a chance to meet Michael Jordan yet?
I've not had a chance, but it's in the works. Yeah, we've been trying to align schedules and things like that to hopefully meet at some point.
Was there any feedback from his team on the cover or anything like that?
Not that I know of, off the top of my head.
Bears have had a lot of great players over the years. 2 Hall of Famers in the last 20 years, but no one's been on the cover. How much extra special is it for you to be the first one on the cover?
Yeah, like I said, it's extremely special for me and my family. Historic moment for me. It's a childhood dream for me, and then on top of that, the childhood dream, or a dream, and historically, like you said, is first being on the cover of Madden, such a historic game, and so blessing and super grateful.
How do you find the balance to kind of deal with the A-list spotlight that follows you around, and then also understanding the grind of QB1 in Chicago with the NFL?
I understood that I was going to a big market. I grew up in D.C., big market. I went to L.A., second or first biggest market. And then now I'm here at second or third biggest market, and so I've been kind of groomed for it, but also growing up and working out and grinding and things like that, you understand you get to a certain point of being a pro or, high-level college athlete, and so, some of the things that come with it, you have to deal with it if you want to aspire to reach some of these goals that, these lofty goals that I set out. And so it comes with it, and that's all right.
So, Carm, a couple things I wanted to communicate from kind of behind the scenes. I mean, one is when that wrapped up there, it was a very brief moment, but small conversation with him, just let him know how I think the covers are cool. And then Caleb also mentioned to me that he's working on the soundtrack, the music that goes with the game. And so that was one of my big takeaways from Thursday being at this event was just I don't know how typical it is. I don't know enough about the Madden process, and I imagine that maybe some athletes get involved in it a little bit more. I'm thinking maybe some are just happy to be on the cover, and that's cool. Caleb very clearly is a gamer and has been playing this game for a long time. I thought it was, in that interview, he's like, I play as myself, now that I'm in the game.
It's in the game.
It's in the game. He's literally in the game and on the cover. But he's heavily involved in this thing. He had a lot to say in that short film that they filmed. I had heard that there was a lot going on, like at Hallis Hall, with this whole thing. I didn't know what it was. And then you see the Vince Vaughn film, and you're like, oh, that's what it is. I mean, if you look at where some of that stuff was filmed, press conference room, team auditorium, a bunch of different things. And we know just from the day Walmart came in here and filmed that commercial with us, the amount of people and equipment, and they moved in here for days to do that. So this has been a big thing. And Caleb's had a lot of input. He had a lot to say over what the covers look like, apparently the music as well. And I actually had a chance to stop Carl Williams there at the event the other night too, his dad.
Didn't know that.
And he was like, yeah, man, this is what we do. But my point on where I'm going to all this is because where I know Carm wants to talk about it, it has to do with this hat I'm wearing. Certain superstars, when they're smart and they have a good team behind them, and yes, they got to realize their talent on the field or the court or wherever they play, they set themselves up for big business long term. This hat is Michael Jordan's NASCAR team, 2311, that he co-owns with Denny Hamlin, who, by the way, also won the race yesterday. And I don't know where Caleb's life is going to go beyond football, but this is the type of stuff that clearly he and his team care about. And he's already got big investments, and he's co-owner of the Boston women's soccer team. He's got his hands business-wise in a lot of different places. And it's still a small sample size, but so far I have been very impressed with his ability to also compartmentalize. And last year, when it was time to go play football, it was time to go play football.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't hear about any of this stuff or seem like anything was a distraction. Now, truth serum, I'd like to know where Ben Johnson is in all this, because there's nobody more football-y and narrowed into things, and maybe that has something to do with his answer last week to the Madden question.
I was going to say, I think he gave you the
answer.
Exactly
I don't have any reaction. I think that there's somewhere in there some type of connection.
What's your reaction? No reaction. Greatest answer I've ever heard. Go, right. Keep going.
But as long as Caleb performs, all of that's going to be okay. Anyway, I came away from the event Thursday night being very impressed with a lot of, not so much the event itself, but just Caleb's involvement, the amount he cares about it, and really how everything came out. So I just think it's really cool. And it's really cool for Chicago that this is something on a weekend there where there wasn't a lot to celebrate. Very cool to see Caleb Williams on the cover of Madden.
Well, not surprisingly, my biggest celebration reaction to it is that he made a point of doing the background as a tribute to the greatest player who's ever played anything in Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But this
Well, let's hold that for a second.
Okay.
We do want to go there, and I know that's.
I got a behind-the-scenes Caleb Jordan story that I'll tell in a second.
Nice. First of all, we want to tell you about our golf outing coming up. It's the Great Big CHGO Scramble. It's coming up Friday, June 26th at White Deer Run. This is an amazing course. All of our golf outings have been super fun. If you've come to them before or not, telling you this is the one to come out and join us. If you are a diehard, you get a discount. Use code JAHNS, JAHNS, $36 diehard offer right now, and that comes with a free shirt when you sign up as well. As we head to overtime on the CHGO Bears podcast. Yes, Carm, Michael Jordan.
Well, so my behind-the-scenes story, most Bears fans will remember the great Tyler Scott, wide receiver extraordinaire, 4th-round pick, who, when he was here, was my favorite stop in the locker room at that point because we would argue LeBron versus Jordan because Tyler grew up in Cleveland and he's younger and doesn't know and thought that LeBron was better than Jordan, which of course was a ridiculous comment. Anybody thinks that doesn't know anything about sports. But regardless, Tyler and I would have these fun arguments. And Caleb's locker was right there. And like Caleb would when he was around would sometimes just jump in and be like, and I just looked at him and asked him one day and he's like, oh, I'm a Jordan guy. Like he knew, he understood, he got it. So the fact that for you to come in here,
it's kind of like
pass the Jordan test.
Do you
man.
believe him though?
Yeah.
Okay, you believe he really is a Jordan guy.
Well, as far as like Jordan versus LeBron, yes, 100%.
Okay, because where I was going to go with this is, I hope he really is. I think he is. I think he is.
99.
But my point is,
that doesn't mean
even if he was a LeBron guy, he was smart enough to know he needs to be a Jordan guy. It's kind of like the mayor last week on The Score. You might have left Bears Packers early, and I don't know who should really care about that or not. Don't say that.
Yeah, you shouldn't care about that, but people do, and he shouldn't have said it. But that's fine, Mayor. I got your back on this, even though like literally no one does. It's fine. You left early, but back. I think Caleb was being sincere. But regardless of all of that, the fact that he is willing to or smart enough to realize this was the iconic guy in Chicago. And that's where I want to be. Yes. And I have enough confidence in myself that I'm not going to run away from that. And I'm also going to pay tribute to him with the background on my Madden cover. By the way, it wasn't too long ago that people were freaking out about the Iceman and George Gervin. This was, he's paying tribute to MJ and creating at least some level of vision that this is where he wants to go and have, listen, if anything's possible in this world. You want to dream it up as big as he's putting it on his phone that he's going to beat Tom Brady and whatnot. Well, if that happens and he's doing stuff that he did last year and the Bears are winning games, well, then he'll be on a Jordan level here if all that goes down. But regardless of the unlikeliness to get to that level, just to have that as a goal and to have that as something that you're aware of, to me that's a huge win for Caleb, for Bears fans, and it's cool that he incorporated it into this. And as the mayor of Jordanville, I appreciated it.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask him in a follow-up, have you talked to Jordan yet? I'm a little disappointed that, and that's not him.
But he said he's trying to connect.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising. Jordan's a hard guy to reach. It's a hard guy to get through.
I mean, Kobe found him. He can get this done.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's where we got to get to here. Like Caleb. Maybe he needs one more.
No, we need Mike back in Chicago at a game in Soldier Field wearing a Bears jersey. He
doesn't seem to want to come back here.
Well, that's why we need him back here for that.
I don't think he came to the Chicago NASCAR race, and he owns a team.
Historically, he's a guy that doesn't like getting in front of the camera very much anymore, but he is starting to do a little bit more now with his NBA coverage. It's rare. It's sporadic.
That was the biggest farce of all time.
No, he did a little bit, though.
I don't even care if
he did one interview with Tirico at the beginning of the year.
He'll do more.
Listen, I don't care if he does it here. You can meet us. We're having we're going to Miami.
Oh, you want him to come to our tailgate?
Yeah, come to our tailgate.
Come to our tailgate, Michael.
Just be at the show up. I'm sure he's got some sick place on South Beach.
If Jordan comes to our tailgate, I'll show up to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
I mean, Mike, you're to what the chat's saying. You're invited. We got you. I'd love you to. I want you to come back to Chicago, but it'd be sweet if you showed up at any Bears game and were repping Caleb, was showing you a ton of respect. So,
all right. Well, I'm glad we got to play that Caleb from Thursday. It is a cool thing, and
your greatest performance, by the way. 2 Jordan follow-up questions, and you started the interview with 2 questions. Really good job. I'm impressed.
Can I just say, too?
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
A couple months ago, I was talking to my guy Dom at the gym, and we were talking about the likelihood of Caleb A getting on the cover, and B, if he did, which image they would use. And we were arguing between his 4th and 8th throw to Roma Dunze, and we were arguing between the Iceman. And I think it's awesome we get both.
Yeah.
Depending on which version you buy. I think they really nailed that, and they gave, best of both worlds.
By the way, on the Iceman thing, he is – I think you're going to see him lean into that a little bit more. He was posing for some photos with some other – this was an interesting event. We were clearly the media that did not belong there. Like, the way we were even sort of treated. This was like a gamer central. Thank goodness that Emma came with me. Emma Alperovich, our awesome social media manager, because she, I didn't know who any of these people were. She's like, oh, that's Screech, or whoever the guy was. I didn't know what his name was. And
Screech was there from Saved by the Bell?
No, he's no longer with us.
Do we lose Screech?
We lost Screech.
That's too bad. I love Screech.
I know. No, I don't remember the guy's name, but someone in the comments will have it. Anyway, my point is, he was doing this wasn't really traditional media stuff, a lot of the stuff he was doing. And so some people were posing for photos of him doing the Iceman thing. It's clearly something that has, I think that could kind of be his iconic, at some point, maybe we should do an over-under when the season starts. So how many times does he pull out the Iceman move this season? And I think he's got to be strategic where he doesn't do it for every big play, but maybe the certain moments he pulls it out of the bag, and that could go a long way, I think, just from a marketing standpoint. So,
I mean, if you're trademarking, you might as well lean in.
Sketch. Everybody, yeah.
Oh, it's Sketch, Adam. There you go. Sketch. So Emma knew who Sketch was, not Screech, because Screech is dead, and I R.I.P. to Screech and his family. Guy was amazing. Love that guy.
Saved by the Bell.
To learn about Sketch. You want to wrap up with Stacey?
Yeah, Matt Nagy said Screech was way cooler. I agree.
Screech was cooler than Sketch?
Yeah, we did have some, if you missed the start of the show, we did start the show by remembering Stacey King and just Chicago icon in a huge loss. I know, Carman, you had some more things that you wanted to get to here on the as we close out the show. We bookend the show, as we should on a day like this, by talking about Stacey King.
Well, it was just a couple things because, I just think it's a really interesting trajectory. The Bulls in 1989, they had 3 picks in the first round, number 6, number 18, and number 20. And it wasn't a great draft. The first pick was Purvis Ellison, who a lot of people thought that King should have been the first overall pick and gone to Sacramento, which honestly that would have been a better fit because his style would have played in the Western Conference way better than the physical East. Like Stacey King being super physical with Patrick Ewing, that's a tough look. But out West, just playing up and down, it would have been better for him. But regardless, the Bulls took him, and he was at one point early in his career, he was trying to supplant Horace Grant as a starting power forward, but that was never going to happen. And then his second year, he basically fell out of favor and wasn't playing. Scott Williams, in the NBA Finals against the Lakers, the first championship, was getting more minutes. And King was literally booed at the championship rally because he had complained about playing time, and there was just a movement basically against this number 6 overall pick who wasn't producing. Literally booed at the championship rally. And so he changed his number from a rookie from 34 to 21 because he didn't. That wasn't him. He wanted to. He knew he was a better player than that. And then in his third year, the Bulls, win the title again, back to back. And King's on the court in Game 6 against Portland. The Bulls are down 15 to start the fourth quarter. Phil Jackson comes out with a lineup of Scottie Pippen, alongside the all-Iowa backcourt, shout out Hawkeyes, B.J. Armstrong, Bobby Hansen, big three in the corner from Bobby Hansen, and then Stacey King and Scott Williams. And they're coming back, and
Scotty was really good during that comeback.
Scotty was phenomenal. So Stacey's got the ball in the post late in the comeback, bangs into Buck Williams. Buck was a physical power forward, if people don't remember that. Buck Williams falls trying to take the charge. He doesn't get the call. He's on the ground. King shoots it in off the glass. Bulls are now down 3. Jordan comes back in. Bulls win the game. And the headline in the Tribune the next day was King for a day. I still have that in some box somewhere.
Nice.
And I was a big rooting for Stacey guy because he had his offensive game, there was something that I always felt like that wasn't being tapped into because he was creative around the hoop, but he never had the right hand. He didn't get off the ground particularly well either. So whatever. The Bulls ended up trading him in one of Jerry Krause's best trades. They trade him to Minnesota for Luke Longley. So Luke starts, for 3 years on the second three-peat. King plays, his first contract is the only contract he signed. I might have that wrong. I think he had a 6-year contract for $8 million, so maybe he had 2 years after that. But he played 8 years in the league, and his career ended young. Goes to plays overseas, goes to the CBA and coaches, and then he ends up back with the Bulls, and they did a 3-man booth for a little bit with him and Red Kerr, and then in 2008, he's the number 1 guy alongside. I think Neil Funk was already there at that point. So Dora had been.
Yeah, Neil was talking about it this morning.
Yeah, so Dora was out. Neil was in. Neil and Stacey. Derrick Rose shows up. And those two take off. But he was not beloved as a player here at all. He was, at best in the middle. But he became beloved as a broadcaster. So in some ways, Ron Santo was beloved as a player, but he was even more beloved as a broadcaster where he connected with the fan base. And Stacey, those two are different. And nobody wore their heart on their sleeve like Santo did, crying in the booth when Brant Brown dropped the fly ball in '98. But, Stacey was obviously an enormous advocate for the Bulls. So I just, aside from if you're born later than knowing the '90s Bulls, you only know him as a broadcaster. So, but just his whole trajectory in Chicago to me is super interesting, and it ends with him as one of the most beloved Bulls of all time. If another Bull passed away today, they would not be getting the reaction that he got because he had the platform and because of the way he connected. A fan in the booth. That's what he was. Did you not get the memo, Goran Dragic? Derrick Rose could go upstairs. That's, that's whoever in the chat. That's all of, that's he, and then to tie it at the end, by the way, and it's a sad irony in it, but to do the Fred Sanford in the end, Elizabeth, I'm coming, when Josh Giddey's hitting half-court shots is just phenomenal television. That is ridiculous. And I don't know if people knew Sanford and Son, but to those who did, it was oh my God, he brought back Sanford and Son.
I didn't even know the reference in the moment, and I was losing my mind. I just thought it was amazing.
He's doing Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, that was, and obviously the hot sauce and sriracha and everything else. He just. Stacey made it fun.
The stupidest one that I loved that is a bit between my wife and myself at home is cookies.
Yeah.
I'll just take something, I'll go, cookies. I do that at home. I love that. And, oh, man, it's just watching the Bulls is just not going to be the same. I think that, the best to do this, they are irreplaceable because of how unique. And he was so unique. Those, I don't remember the names. Those, who are the guys that reenact some of the greatest calls? They'll do it on Instagram the next day. They did it with the call you're just talking about.
Okay.
Where they mouth it and then they act it out. And they're super entertaining. There's a couple different Instagram accounts out there that do that, but just they would, anytime Stacey did anything, they would do one, and he would interact with them and have fun with it. Adam Amin would as well. It's just that it's tough. That was really tough news, obviously, and like I said off the top of the show, kind of transcends which Chicago sports teams we're talking about here on this show, or he was one of the best to do it here in Chicago, period.
I remember they used to practice at the Multiplex, which was a public health club, and I think it was, and it wasn't like super expensive. I mean, I was a privileged kid growing up in the North Burbs, but I think it was like $35 a month or $40 a month for a kid, which is a lot of money, but it was also, not a country club where you would think the Bulls were at. And somehow they stole, it was like, I think they took his hat or his socks or something, and I just remember him like going 100 miles down the hallway, like up the stairs to try to like run down B.J. Armstrong or Jordan or something. Where it was just like they were kids, man. They were like they were just fun guys that were accessible in a crazy time where the Bulls were, it was before. Jordan lived on a normal street, not one with a gate, and the Bulls were just like around, and they were having breakfast at Baker's Square, and it's just such a different time that will never come back. But I really, just looking back on it, just that's like the biggest thing that hits me. It's like, man, like that dude, there's the childhood, and now he's gone. Life goes very, very fast.
Yeah, it's tough. 59, way too young. Stacey King, we are gonna miss him very, very much for a long time. There's no question about it. As for us, the rest of this week, it'll be football. We have Bears mini camp the next 3 days over at House Hall.
Shows are at 4 o'clock the next 3 days. 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
We'll be doing our post-practice shows that we always love doing. We'll be out there. We'll be reporting back everything we need to communicate from 3 straight days. It'll be the first time since training camp last year that we'll have been able to, or at least the preseason last year, we'll be able to watch 3 practices in a row, kind of see how things are evolving over at Hallis. So we'll be locked in over the next few days. 4 p.m. will be the showtime, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, following those practices. Few things we need to get to as well. You got something else?
Well, do you want me to talk my dream today or later in the week? Today?
I mean, that sounds like something for Carm week next week.
Carman Steven week.
Well, it would be for Carm week, but you were in it, so that's the problem.
Okay.
Here we go.
I don't know what happened this weekend on this staying in a Holiday Inn in Appleton, Wisconsin for a kids' soccer tournament.
You went to Appleton?
Appleton. 3 hours or 2 hours and 30 minutes or whatever it was.
Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, though?
Stayed at a
What'd you
Holiday
become
Inn.
an expert in the next day?
Yeah, well, it's a rough weekend for the Holiday Inn. TV didn't work. No breakfast on Sunday. It was rough job by the Holiday Inn. But regardless, pillows were great. It was me in a room with 2 kids and Jackie, and we closed like all the blinds, and like it was like just dark in there, and so I slept way later than I've ever slept because we just and at some point I was having this dream that we were on like some work trip, and then all of a sudden you were just leaving to go on a cruise, and I was legit jealous and angry. I'm like, how do you get to go on a cruise and you were like, somehow you're like, my family's going and my dad's gonna be there and he's paying for it or something. And then I was like jealous that where's my family to pay for something? How come I don't get to go on a cruise? And then like you had to like slide on this like conveyor belt onto the cruise, and I was like watching you leave, and I was so jealous. And I don't know what any of this means, but just know you're in my dreams, which is horrifying for me and probably for you and even for the iceberg.
I can tell you exactly what it means. You're stressing out about Carm week already. You're already thinking about it.
I don't know. Maybe that's what it was.
I think that's what it is.
There you were going on the ship, and you were like a little like raft or conveyor belt or something like getting on there, and I was like, and then
I'm going on vacation next week, folks, and he is,
and I'm dreaming about
worried
it.
about it.
So I'd like, if anybody knows, BetterHelp was a good sponsor for us. They haven't been around for a minute. Maybe I need some attention right now. I'm not sure exactly. But Hoge was in my dreams.
That was a lot safer than I thought it would be. I was legitimately worried.
Well, it wasn't a super dangerous segment, but I just thought it was interesting that Adam Hoge is popping up in my dreams. Also, by the way, I'd like to shout out myself that we're in this quiet hotel room and I'm 80 years old, so I've got to pee in the middle of the night. I got to one kid's on the cot, the other kid's in the other bed, and Jackie's trying to sleep and all these things. So what do you do? Because if you're midnight tinkle's not easy. So I had to sit and pee, no sound, sit and pee.
Wait, like you went to the bathroom? Though.
Yeah, I sat.
Okay.
I sat down. And I would like to. I like to give it. This is a public service announcement from Carman.
You can't aim well enough to not make it make noise.
No, it's too risky. Middle of the night, don't want to turn the lights.
Oh, you didn't want to turn the lights on.
I just,
okay.
I sat and peed. It was
no
horrible.
Door?
But I was really. I was amazed at my efficiency. I didn't wake. Nobody woke up 3 times.
You went 3 times?
3 times. Oh, we're on the trip with all the families. The people are drinking. They had the Spotted Cow. That was the best thing about the Holiday Inn. Frosted glasses and the Spotted Cow. That's a 3P. 3-peat.
That is, yeah. Midnight Tinkle. That's our next shirt at CHGO. I like that idea.
I was proud of myself.
J-Phil said put it on a short shirt.
Yeah. And then my, last thing, and then you can end the show.
Thank you.
We did we had soccer on Saturday, went 1-1.
Good luck, Steven.
And then Sunday was the 3rd game. All the fans get out there, and there's like 17 fields at this place.
Do you have any teams from Canada, like Jake had a couple weeks ago?
I don't know who was there, but all these
happening with these
people,
sports.
These people were just coming from everywhere, and the parents are like, there's like fighting for spots along them. Like one team's out and the next team's in, and people are like lining up to put their chairs down. Like, just chill out. You don't need the 50-yard line seat. Can you sit wherever? Whatever. But so once our group got up there, I got in front of all the parents and gave the pep talk. All right, let's go. Day 2. We need energy here. Let's give it up for Rush. You guys, I know you're feeling a little bit here, but we're gonna get out there. Let's go. So and they all and I got everybody going. And then they lost 7-0. But I thought that my pep talk was was big. I brought the energy for the parents after I sat and peed.
Well, you felt good.
It was after the Hoge dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Now you can end the show.
I can't believe you had to give the parents a pep talk.
I give the parents a pep talk. They all kind of. One of them looked at me completely crazy. But oh yeah, and
you almost forgot.
That's terrible.
You almost forgot this guy's birthday.
I did.
Which is the most stunning thing that could have happened today.
Well, yes, I would like
June 8th.
Bo Chanton brought it up early in the show. It is Tyson's birthday today. Happy birthday to my guy, Tyson Bagent, the Hall of Famer to be. And looking forward to seeing him out there. 3 days of mini camp, and appreciate everything that Tyson's done for this show. CHGO, tremendous supporter for all of us here. And just want to wish my guy happy birthday. And to his dad, too, Travis, for bringing him into the world, and his mom.
They're part of the CHGO crew.
We love Tyson.
We appreciate him.
And
happy birthday, Tyson.
Tyson, you're the best. And I don't know what I'm getting him for his birthday, but I got to step up here. I'm a last-minute birthday guy gifter. Think I got you anything for your birthday?
No, but you've got me plenty of other things. I don't. Should we end with the Craigulator? It's time for the Craigulator. It's time for the Craigulator.
Craigulator definitely does not sit and pee.
$50 super chat. Hoge, Steven, and Braggs in the stands. Good luck this week with Carm's nighttime. McTurition journal entries.
I think that's got something to do with what I was just talking about.
Okay.
Listen, next week without Hoge.
More dreams? Guys, we don't have to talk about next week yet. We got 3 big shows coming up tonight. We got Braggs in the stands tonight.
Big show tonight. 7 o'clock. It's going to be incredible.
Right?
Right, Steven? Right. I love Braggs in the stands.
And I think he's producing the Cub show right now.
Yeah, he was panicking. I saw his face when I went in there during the Caleb interview.
Tonight's show is called HMND Bears. We are renaming, actually, Braggs in the Stands and the CHGO to HMND Bears.
It would be kind of a funny bit if we actually redid the branding for a week.
I mean, we might as well. I mean, we're not really ahead of it, but we might as well get a little bit of, out in front.
Okay. Next 3 days, guys. Bears minicamp, 4 p.m. Lock in. Those guys will get you ready tonight, too, I'm sure. A little pre-minicamp preview on HMND Bears.
I don't know if Shane and Phil actually want to be on HMND Bears, but they're on HMND Bears because, like, Dick Duran was once on that show.
But it wasn't his show.
That's
right. All right, thank you, everybody watching, listening today. Please hit that like button on the way out. Hit subscribe, rate and review the pod. Make sure you hit the notifications for the next few days because we're going to have you covered all 3 days. Bears mini camp. Can't wait for it. We'll talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.